One of the leading experts nationally and internationally on the subject of marriage, the history of marriage, is Professor Stephanie Coontz, Coontz. She teaches history and family studies at the Evergreen State College and is author, among other works, of the book Marriage: A History, How Love Conquered Marriage. She points out
I read that.
Oh, you're right. Okay, good. So she points out, for example, when I hear these people talking about, marriage must be between a man and a woman, the traditional marriage must be between one man and one woman because this is the way it has always been. This is what we mean by tradition. Everybody knows what traditional marriage is. Well, as Professor Coontz points out, there is nothing traditional about traditional marriage. It was not until 1215. Until the year 1215 that the Catholic Church even made marriage a sacrament. And not until 1563 did it begin to enforce any rules mandating that certain ceremonies had to be performed in order to make a marriage legitimate. Now, hold on. In the Protestant regions, authorities actually forbade impoverished individuals from marrying at all. And Protestant officials often stepped in to dissolve marriages that had been made without parental consent, even if both parties were adult and children had already been born to their union. It is also not traditional to insist that the state should have the final say over what constitutes a valid marriage. It was not until 1754 that the English state required a license for a marriage to be valid. And even after that, self-marriage and self-divorce remained commonplace, especially in the early decades of the United States. And it was only 2 centuries ago that people began to marry for love rather than for mercenary or practical considerations. And just one other thing, and then I'll let you have the last word about this. I want to read from something that Professor Coontz wrote. She writes, "Through most of human history and in most cultures, the most widely accepted tradition of marriage has been polygamy, one man and multiple women. We're just not talking about exotic island cultures or lost tribes in the African jungle. Polygamy is the family form most often mentioned in the first 5 books of the Old Testament. In some societies, traditional marriage meant one woman wedded to several men. In others, a woman could take another woman as a female husband. In China and the Sudan, when 2 sets of parents wanted to forge closer family ties and no live spouse was available, one set sometimes married off a child to the ghost of a dead son or daughter of the other family. And most so-called traditional marriages were always concerned more with property and wealth than with love or sex." So just thought I would put that out there so we can begin to wrap our minds around what we mean when we talk about so-called traditional